Welcome back to CBS This Morning. Instead of our usual talk of the table now, we're sharing how a group of best-selling authors has teamed up to write a book.
Hello, today I present to you an extremely attractive application for music lovers. It's completely free. You can listen to music online or download unlimited music to use whenever you don't have internet. The powerful search function helps you find anything you want. Trust me. It's hard not to find what you're looking for because the search function is really powerful. Application download link is attached in the description of the video. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Thanks.
Exploring the joy and wonder of Black boyhood. Black Boy Joy, 17 stories celebrating Black boyhood, is a middle grade anthology with a medley of stories, poems, and comics about the power and fun of growing up as a Black boy.
It is fun. First on CBS This Morning, we invited 5 of the authors to come together in a conversation. They are George M. Johnson, a non-binary writer, activist, and author of All Boys Aren't Blue. Kwame Mbalia is author of the Tristan Strong trilogy. Jerry Crafts is author of New Kid. Tochi Onyebuchi is author of Riot Baby. And Jason Reynolds, we know him very well around here, is the Library of Congress National Ambassador for Young People's Literature and the author of Long Way Down. So they gathered at a coffee shop in Brooklyn to discuss their collaboration and the importance of representing Black boys in joyful stories and with a full range of emotions.
Why the title? Why Black Boy Joy? Of all the things it could have been, right? Why Black Boy Joy? And secondly, what does it mean to you?
So Black Boy Joy, just the term, was coined about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's just become synonymous with the, almost just the relief and being able to express oneself free from all of stereotypes, judgment, and outside framing. I think that for myself, whenever I would walk into the kitchen, my parents had the news on, it was always someone like me in the street, right? Or a mugshot. And I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna tell the story of the world, tell the whole story, right? And this, the joy, the happiness, the celebration, the love, I feel like that has been missing from a lot of the stories.
When I was a kid, there was no joy in anyone that looked like us. And if there was, you knew that if they had a happy moment, they were just setting you up to, you know what I mean? So the whole thing could be, oh, he's trying to get into Harvard, right? At the end, he'd finally get that letter, right? And he'd open it up, and just then someone would come up, boom, 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 and you'd see the letter floating down to the ground, right? Right.
Fade to black.
So when you asked me to be in this, you had me at the title. I'm going to be with people who aren't writing to that story.
So for me, Black Boy Joy is really getting into the stories that have always existed but rarely ever get told. I think about how my grandmother or great-grandmother has sayings like, you count it all joy. And what that really means is, like, even the bad days, there's still joy there. I often think about the movie Stand By Me, which was like, you know, these 4 little white boys that got to have like adventure and fun. And it's like, I remember being a young Black boy with my 2 cousins who I grew up with and my little brother. And we were those 4 little boys, but we never got those stories. And so for me, this was the opportunity to, 1, tell the story of who I would have been if I had language as a non-binary kid, and also reflect on the relationship that I had with my grandmother, that I had with my family, which was supportive of me as a young queer boy who didn't have language and who didn't know what was going on with me. And 2, ensure that there was representation of what we think of the Black male image, the Black man image, and knowing that it doesn't all come packaged in the same thing.
It's liberation for me. The story that I wrote, Coping, is about this young Black skateboarder. And when I was his age, my dream was to be in the X Games. That was my thing, but I'd never seen that depicted.
For me, it's always about like humanity and magic in mundanity for Black people, right? Like I believe that Black people are as boring as everybody else.
I can
right?
attest to it.
Boring, right? We live humdrum lives like everybody else. I think that like if we can recognize the magic there, there's joy.
The beauty of these 17 stories, the joy is the final destination, right? But the route that everyone takes is totally different. As you're writing your story, how did you navigate towards the joy?
The question that I asked myself was, okay, where is this kid finding joy? And at the beginning, he thinks that joy is caught up in physical achievement. He's like, I want to be able to do this thing and get famous and hear the crowd roar my name as I'm at the top of this like half pipe, getting ready to do all types of daring stuff. But the journey he goes through ends up being that, oh, there can be joy in helping others. There can be joy in making sure somebody has something to eat. You can put a smile on another person's face, and there's some sort of alchemy at work that puts a smile on your face as a result. And that was something that was very important for me to sort of dive into and explore, because I think, you know, particularly with regards to achievement and the interaction of that with Black boyhood, it's like, oh, you got to do good to get out the hood, or you got to do good to fulfill this family expectation or that, you know. Like, where is there space for the Black boy to figure out what he wants to do? What brings him joy?
Right, and I think in my story, that's really all I was trying to say. Is like, what about the kid who's like, hey, that first day of school, I don't know about y'all, but when I was coming up, that first day, and you had to get dressed, it was like, hey, you getting ready to walk in, and this is going to set the tone. This your force field, right? This is going to be it,
for the
right?
whole semester.
This is it, right? Even if you were a kid who didn't have much, which is in my story, he ain't got a whole lot. He got sneakers that he's already owned for a year. But I think what I wanted to shine light on is that, yo, you got Black boys who, you like, go to my household, you cared about your appearance. You took care of your things. You idolized your big bro for many reasons, right? And not all were negative. And to show like the care that goes into that first day. If you talk to your grandmas and your grandfathers, they're gonna tell you, keep your shoes clean. You leave this house, we might not have much. It don't mean that you gotta go out. Like, they don't have to know that. Keep your shoes clean, right? It was a very real thing. Because there is that kid who right now is sitting in the back of the class twiddling his pencils, constantly checking his Jordans, making sure there's no scuffs. And that kid should be loved too.
I mean, for me, I think the book, the book was definitely like not about asking permission anymore. It's like about taking up space. It's a bold attempt at a counter narrative that we rarely get to ever explore or that we rarely get to ever see. When you think about just even all of last year, it took the entire world to come together to get one white cop put in jail. So for me, this book is really about giving our Black boys something else that they can hold on to in a world that tells them that they're not worthy of grabbing onto anything. And this will give the green light to someone who reads this to say, you know what, I didn't necessarily feel seen in this, but I appreciate that these 17 other types of us got seen, but maybe I'll write the story for the 18th one of us to be seen.
Before we go, I just want to say, I got a thing about making sure Black folks, especially Black men, publicly tell each other that we love each other. And so I just want to say, like, I love y'all, man. It's important that we publicly do that.
Yeah. I love that he did that at the end.
I do too. It's such an important conversation to show that Black people, it's not all humdrum, I have to say. I thought that was funny that Jason said Black people live humdrum lives, yet sometimes. But I'm so touched by this conversation. It's no secret that I'm having a favorite grandson in mid-September. And favorite daughter Kirby's doing her whole nursery, and she calls it Black Boy Joy. She's getting pictures of little Black boys walking their dogs. She's having somebody paint it, walking their dogs, reading a book, going to the beach. Just normal, everyday things that give you joy that many times are not associated with little Black children.
Well, it's what
That's
Jason.
why this is important.
It's what Jason said. There's humanity and magic in mundanity.
There's a lesson. There's a lesson here, though, for all of us who are watching. I loved when he said, "What brings you joy?" And it's a question for all of us to ask. What brings you joy?
Yes.
What is it?
Yes.
What brings you joy? I saw a quote just outside this building that says, "Find what sets your soul on fire."
Right.
Find what sets your soul on fire.
That's the quest.
Isn't it lovely to just witness conversations?
Yes, love it.
Good conversation like that. You know what gives me joy? Anything with icing. Anything with icing.
Want some cake?
I should say a special thank you. John Tower, please tell us who did that piece, because that's very hard to do. Maite and
boom, boom.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Viewers watching at home, it's very hard to do a piece where there's no track, where you just have conversation that flows and makes sense. You guys knocked it out of the park.
Great.
Thank you.
And thank you, gentlemen, for that conversation.
Yes. David, you're now.
My time. Black Boy Joy. On sale now. What a beautiful cover, right?
I want this book.